No, it's beautiful.
Anyway,
Yes.
welcome to the channel. You might recognize the background here. That was where we recorded our end of 2021 video. But now, welcome to We Put a Table.
That's the only difference.
It's the only difference, really. So, how you doing, Alan?
I'm doing great. How about yourself?
Yeah, it's been a lot of cool stuff coming out. And
Yeah.
the one thing that really caught me by surprise that I thought would be a really good idea that we would talk about is Batman.
Yeah.
So, I was really surprised by that movie. What did you think? So, like, initial thoughts.
Initial thoughts. I walked out away giddy. You know?
Did you really?
I was like, oh, that's cool because like, how can I say it gave me that how can I say this? You know when we watched the original trilogy, I mean the Christopher Nolan ones, right?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
How like we would come out there and we'd be like, dude, like you remember how tense this was? Like how our conversations were like that, and we would pop off and whatnot.
Well, then we were much younger, so it was just
True.
like, wow, this is so cool, and I can't believe they did like a gritty Batman.
Yeah.
I can't believe they did a gritty Batman, and here we are with like all the.
In this one, I walked out and I was like, dude, like I was giddy about how can I say this? It felt more comic booky to me and more fantastical.
Like, well, everything's like goth as hell. Like his house is like a cathedral.
It's Dracula's castle. Almost. Like it's seriously, you were right, cathedral like aesthetic.
Seriously.
And
I love when they're having like breakfast in this place. I'm just like, this is amazing. Like this is exactly. It's like Tim Burton-esque, you know?
Yeah, I was gonna mention that. Like it felt to me, it felt very comic booky. It felt me like very Tim Burton-esque. Especially the shot where like he shoots up, like for his grapple hook, and he goes up through the spiral stairs.
It's
That
like
to
a
me,
tracking shot.
that to me was like, oh, dude, that's so superhero.
Super
Like,
cool.
it to me looked super dope.
Yeah,
but that's what I mean. Like it took me back to that childhood. Like like I saw a superhero comic book movie.
It really, it really did feel like that. Cause like, so, and you'll notice I'm like messing around because I'm like live switching this. If it goes super long, I don't want to have to edit the whole thing. So like, at the end of the day, so like the thing about the movie that like really surprised me, and I keep telling people, is that they're just like, oh, how was it? I'm like, it was just a good movie, weirdly enough. Because we all know Batman by now, like a million times over. And they've done that. That's why Joker was interesting, because it's like not even really about the Joker or even his actual origin story from the comics. It's just like another story about like a mentally disturbed person. Yeah. This one was different in the way of, it was a noir detective story, but like, exactly. Like with just Batman and like, I loved the most interesting part was just him pacing around in a room, right? Yeah,
like him legit, like compared to the other movies where he shows up, boom, 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 bam, shit gets resolved. In this one, he legit, like, in multiple times goes back to the same subject and interrogates again and like does a different form of like investigation every time. Seriously. And it really homed in like he's an actual detective and like we're watching him become the greatest one.
And well, especially the like becoming thing.
Yes.
I love that. So we're gonna try to not do spoilers right now, but like, and we'll get into that a little bit. But the fact that like you see that he's still learning. So he's like, okay, when I first saw it, and there's like a meme that's going around, I don't know if you saw it, of like, it's like Screen Rant or whatever. They did an interview with Robert Pattinson. He's just like, to get into the role, I played Sonic Adventure 2, but only on the dark story. And I really got into the mood of Shadow the Hedgehog.
He really said,
didn't
I was
say
about
that.
to say, oh my
At least
gosh.
if he did, he's now my favorite. No, that he like, but overall, like, he is this dark, brooding edgelord in the beginning, and for a while I was just like, okay, I'm okay with that. I don't mind like the idea of it, but it like Batman has been that for a while, and then you realize that like this is like a mid-20s, late 20s guy.
Seriously,
that's like just self-serious enough, and he doesn't understand what it is to be a superhero. He's just like really self-important and thinking that like, oh, woe is me, I need to beat the crap out of like the villains.
I need to do this for me right now. Kind of mentality.
And like the fact that like he thinks that that's what being a hero is just like beating the crap out of people and like solving crime. So much so, okay, and it's in the trailers. Yes. There's this car chase, and they have like the Penguin, and he's like chasing the Penguin. And during that car chase, like they go through like rush hour and probably kill 20 people. Right?
I wanted to talk about that car scene. Yeah.
Because like, and then you have the moment where it's just like, oh, that's so badass, but like, he legit doesn't use guns in the movie. He doesn't kill people. And so it's just like, that's like collateral damage, but it's just like, for him, he's like, I need to get the guy. Turns out that wasn't even the right lead in the end. So yeah, so it's interesting to see him like these are mistakes that a rookie makes. He also like when he's afraid of heights in that one moment.
I was also there's a lot of pin moments where.
But I'm skipping forward. Go ahead.
Yeah. There's a lot of moments where you realize, oh, this Batman is like possibly one of the youngest ones. At least that's how it felt to me, because like the way he was acting, like come on, he turned down the music, like that was his shit. Like he was playing that shit. It was like, like any moody teenager would do, or like even a high school, what was it, college student, high schooler.
You're not my dad, Alfred.
You're not my dad, like come on.
I can't believe he said that.
Seriously, that was written down.
Exactly.
Like it's there. The moment where, how can I say this? I wouldn't say afraid of heights, but more of, shit, does this thing work? Because I haven't used it yet.
Yeah, exactly.
You know, like, for example, like this huge build, there was a moment, must have been, where you turned it on and said, I hope this works.
Well, with the car, you feel like, because when we were watching the car part, I was like, why isn't it like more exciting that the car's turning on? Yeah. And I have moments of just like, that thing's like glued together, it almost looks like.
Yeah, it looked like a...
Same thing with his wingsuit, you're just like, I hope.
Yeah, he had to prep it, he was like, okay.
He's just like, if it's not gonna work now, it's never gonna work. Yeah.
No, it was there was a lot of, how can I say this? There was a lot of moments of like growing, and I haven't seen that in the other Batman game or Batman movies.
Yeah, the Batman games.
Batman games. You see a lot of shit in Batman games, but no, and that's why I liked a lot about it. Also, I don't know if this is spoiler, but how can I say this?
Warning, maybe
spoiler. Yeah. The bad guy, and I want to say this for the first time ever since like the older movies, the bad guy had minions.
Yeah.
Legit minions. Like,
I never, holy crap.
Costume and everything, bruh. Like, it was legit.
We
like,
haven't seen that since like, like, what's his name? Freeze, Mr. Freeze?
Yes, it's Freeze and his goons with like all the heavy jackets and the fur,
The closest other thing was like Bane, but like those weren't minions that dressed like him, you know?
Yeah, those more like, they look like just typical Blackwater mercenaries. Like, but no, these were minions.
They
these
really
were legit
were.
Minions.
Which, like, oh my god. So I think I kind of want to go into spoilers.
Let's just go into it. Yeah.
So, well, let's try to like finish off any of our major thoughts. So, like, I think probably my biggest major thought is like the influences of this movie.
Yeah.
That not only the DP has worked on like The Mandalorian and a lot of these other movies that are like, they are very contrasty. There's just like very dark and then bright, and you're seeing like the silhouette of a lot of stuff. And that it did mirror Seven a lot, like the whole serial killer thing, and like he's got this whole plan
leaving
about
the
that,
clues.
like and frankly, so Seven is
sloth, glutton, shit like that.
Yeah, exactly. Seven is probably a better movie when it comes to a lot of other like tone and other items like other stuff like that. But this movie, I felt like had a more cathartic. Here's the end to my plan. My plan has a point. This is what I'm trying to get to. And it does have like it has like a singular, this is the whole point of the thing. But then at the very, very end, he's like, oh no, I have this other part of it. It's lol, lay epic random. But like, at the end of the day, when you get to the end of the like mystery, it's interesting. And like, I liked watching it. Yeah.
I agree. How can I say this? As limited as they were, the interactions between Batman and the Riddler, like, a lot of the times they were tense.
Yeah.
Not a lot of the times. The only few times where they interacted were super tense. The interrogation scene, even like towards the ending, when they finally found out who he is and shit like that. It's super, super crazy. And they don't see each other eye to eye like for the majority of the movie.
Yeah, he's just like this shadowy figure.
Yeah, the entire time Batman and I almost said Alfred. Batman and Commissioner Gordon are like trying to find this dude, and both of them can't trust anybody but themselves.
And that was like, I really did like that corruption element of it, where it's just like, you can't trust anybody in the city because like scene 1 or 2, they're like, here's the seedy bar, here's everybody you're supposed to trust, here's the DA, here's all these other people, and you're just like, oh, I guess we're kind of screwed. Like, I guess, you know, there's not like really anybody.
When he walks into the Penguins Club and he recognizes, like, that's an officer that works here. He's one of the bouncers here.
Yeah.
I broke his nose.
And that feeds into, I love that feeds into, like, the character of, like, Robert Pattinson's Batman. That, like, when he goes in there and Catwoman's literally like, I'm here to make sure my friend's not dead. And then he's just like, hey, keep looking at people. I want to identify them. And
Yeah. I don't care about your friend right now.
Yeah,
I'm more
exactly.
about,
So it's just like great to see that, like, it's one of those things where, like, you see it in a lot of other movies where you're just like, this is just bad acting or bad writing. And then when you think more and more about it, it's like, no, this is a commitment to a very static character that only has a one-track mind. And so at the end, that's kind of like their arc. So
and I feel that feeds into the whole, like, this is a new Batman. Because, like, we've seen Batman, how can I say?
And it's based off, oh my God, I'm just switching everywhere. Hopefully this looks good. I'll see if I edit it later. But this is based off Batman Year One, which parts of it, which is a comic that's like that. It's like early Batman getting his footing, but like a lot of it is just its own. It seems like they were their own decisions. But yeah, I didn't mean to cut you off. It's just like early Batman.
But like going back into the point, this is Batman. Like he's 2 years old. Batman is literally 2 years old in this. And
like he's been working for 2 years. He's not a baby.
Yeah, I mean.
Dude, I can't wait for the Baby Batman movie.
Baby Batman. Yeah. But no, like in the other Batmans where we see him be a little bit more, how can I say, caring for others, like loving somebody. And I'm going back to the Christopher Nolan movies where him and like Catwoman and him and his parents, whatever, all the other ones. And this one, like, it almost felt like a bad high school relationship.
Yeah.
Where it's like, no, do it. Exactly. It's like, I'm like, fuck you. Yeah, I'm here for my shit too. And like clearly he doesn't give a shit. You could see him in his like big computer station and whatnot.
God, I love that.
It was pretty fun.
I did like the Batcave. I thought it was kind of cool. That the fact that like his Batcave and like himself, all of his gadgets and stuff was just like, I mean, I hate to say it, but like you guys don't see, I'm tinkering in here all the time. So I literally had that moment of like music on, tinkering around. Somebody comes and be like, ugh, what do you want?
Yeah,
it's so
busy.
Exactly. It's just like, I'm doing stuff, mom. Like, it's so, I loved it.
And the fact that it was an establishing shot where before you see the Batcave, it starts off on like his family names. Like it was like
you're right.
It was some sort of, it wasn't a memorial. It was something that his parents built.
Yeah.
And it kind of felt like, oh, his parents did all this for him. And like this is what he's doing with their legacy, as they say. They had a whole bunch of legacy talk in this movie as well.
Because I think that it was like an old subway station or something like that. It looked like, or it was like part of the subway system because you see like train tracks going there. So like maybe that was like a philanthropic thing that they did, was like build railroad.
It probably failed.
That was the thing. Yeah, that was. I mean, that's kind of like a big theme in this movie. Is just like because they said like I didn't love the idea of like the sins of the father, the part where like the Riddler's just like, oh, okay, well you have. Should we just get the spoilers?
Yeah, just do it. Yeah. We already gave it the warning.
Okay. I loved the fact that the Riddler at the end, his whole point and everything was that he was working. He thought he was working with Batman. That's like the best thing I think I've ever seen, is that like he's just a fanboy. That's like, oh my God, he's doing what other people haven't done. I'm going to do my own version of it. And then once he gets to he meets him, he's like, you're crazy. He's like, you're crazy. What are you talking about? I'm crazy? What are you like? And then he like screams like a upset fan. It's so good.
I had this recurring joke where the Riddler, he's nothing special. He's just the smartest Redditor. That's it. He's just the most maniacal Redditor out there.
Everyone called his henchman, like the 500 followers he had, where they called him Twitch Chat. That was the joke.
The chatters. That's
exactly.
Them. Just walking in.
Which, oh my God, like when you see them, like their chat, where it's just like, "I got you, bro."
Bro.
He's like, "What caliber?" He's like, "Any kind's good." And it's just like,
what mask is that? Oh, that's just a winter combat mask. You can find it at every store. It's like,
I expected them to say poggers, like legitimately.
That would be funny as hell.
It'd been too much, probably.
A couple Pepe's wearing the mask or something. I don't know.
Pepe's would have actually been weirdly like on brand, but like because they're green and he's a green. Anyway. Also, did you notice that the glasses he's wearing are the same glasses that what's his name, Jim Carrey wore?
Yeah, I saw that on not on Twitter, on Twitter. Somebody posted the pictures. Like, look at this. Like apparently it's the same glasses.
Yeah, which is cool. It's a cool little homage. But like legitimately.
Which I feel like it goes into my mentality. It's like, this is a more comic booky movie. It's more like comic book like. Anyway, sorry, what were you saying?
Well, and especially that like we've gotten these gritty, realistic Batmans, but like this one in particular I thought was good enough that it was, this is like the really this is a world like you're in. This isn't, even though they legitimately are in parts of New York filming, like it's its own place. And so when you see all of these like things unfolding, these different, like I love that they go to different locales and locations that are like, this is this club and this is the these buildings, and they go to like the top of this like building that's under construction to like meet and talk.
That's where the bat symbol is.
And so like stuff like that really helped the world, as well as, oh my god, it's just orange and like just orange black, that's it, and it's great, and it's like a new dawn kind of look.
It's a very ugly Gotham. Like people were saying, like in the Joker movie, you saw like you really see how gross Gotham is. Like, bro, that's just New York with giant CG rats. Like, don't even try.
Yeah, and didn't you say there's like a rat the size of a basketball or something?
Something like that. There's a couple.
I still never saw it.
No, it's funny.
Never seen it. I watched the movie again. Never saw it.
Never saw it. It was never there, Alan.
Exactly.
No, but like in this one, I felt like you really see how gross Gotham is. Not so much like, oh, that like the building is dilapidated, there's trash everywhere. But no, like you see the corruption, the people, the like. I want to say that not even, even in the citizens, like people were like rallying for the Riddler, just random people, like when Wayne was coming into that thing, and how Falcone owns like half of the police force, which is spoiler as well.
Exactly. Which, I mean, like, I think that was great to not only show the fact that, like, this is, because you always hear that, like, that was a part of The Dark Knight where they do the Maroni trial, and he's just saying that, like, oh, well, you know, all these people are corrupt. And you see, like, a couple of cops are, like, under the influence of whatever.
They just stand like this in the background.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And so, like, this one in particular shows you that, like, no, this is, like, everybody's at this club. This is where bad people are. Here's where all the people that should be doing good are. And then on top of that, the fact that, like, you have that side of, like, the corruption. And then the opposition to that isn't even, like, Batman's in the middle. The opposition to that is the Riddler side. That's just like, here, we're sick of corruption. So whatever, let's let the whole place burn.
Yeah.
And the fact that I loved that his, like, when they go to the funeral, that one dude just, like, goes off in the crowd and he's just like, oh, they're all corrupt, garbage, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
And then he looks over and he sees that it's Bruce Wayne. And that makes more sense now that probably the Riddler had already said that he was going to off Bruce Wayne. So, like, the guy there that, like, was already dressed as one of the Riddler's, like, henchmen was just like, oh, this is the guy. Like, that's interesting that not only he was saying it to the wrong person, but also the fact that, like, I looked up the cast. I already knew who played the Riddler. So I'm like, that's not the Riddler, but he is, like, dressed exactly the same. I'm curious where this is going. And then it did go somewhere, and I thought it was pretty good.
Do you think he went to his forum and said, bro, look, guess what I saw today?
Oh my god, like, that'd be so good.
You know,
IRL,
Seriously, like, I saw IRL Wayne. I could have done it myself. But,
that would have been kind of cool if that was, like, if you looked on the forum and that was like part of it, like when they scroll up.
Apparently that's a real website. The
Rata Alada.
Rata whatever.com. Apparently that's a real place you can go. And they talk about maybe making a second movie.
Okay, because that was the one which I wouldn't mind. I want to see the whole thing that I want to see from this. And I was telling I saw it with my brother is that, like, I would love if this is a trilogy and the last one is him having his Robin. Yeah. And Robin is basically him from the first movie. And he's trying to show him, like, don't do that. Yeah. I've been through this before. That's real stupid and dumb, and I know that you want to, like, save people.
And Robin's like, no, we could just finish them right now and really put them down. He's like, no, Robin.
Yeah, exactly.
He's like, hey.
Yeah. And
very God of War like almost.
And they mentioned Bloodhaven, which is Nightwing's place. So, like, that's what's her face? Catwoman says, "Oh, I'm going to Bloodhaven," which is
Nightwing's I don't recognize a lot of the
which they didn't really. There wasn't much fan service, which I didn't mind. Like, I was glad that they didn't go out of their way to be like, here's a setup. The only one that I was like, okay, is that supposed to be Joaquin Phoenix? Was at the very end where they had, like, he's like, you could have a friend in jail, like.
I want to talk about the ending a little bit.
Okay.
I want to talk more about the introduction, how they introduced Batman in the very first couple scenes, how they introduced the Riddler.
Okay, yeah.
I have a theory. That who is the director of this? I completely forgot.
I don't even remember. Like, let me look it up. Yeah.
I have a theory that the director, the DP, and a couple cast members and a couple of his friends were like, guys, let's shoot this very first scene with the Riddler and just try to sell this movie with this, okay?
Yeah.
To me, it felt like it didn't have a pilot feel, but it felt like that could have been in its own section, like released separately to kind of like tease and to sell the movie or something like that. And they said, let's just keep it in because, like, that first scene very introducing tense. To him is super insane. Insane. You witness a politician look, there's all spoilers for the first scene. You witness a politician looking at himself through like at the TV. Is like, I'm fucking it up. I'm fucking it up. I'm fucking it up.
Yeah.
And as he's pacing, you see nothing but 2 dots in the darkness, and that's his glasses and eyes, and just looking at him. It gave me I forgot the name of the movie, but it's about a killer. That like he routinely kills people and he has his own ways. Like he zip locks a bag on his hand with his gun.
That sounds so familiar.
And he gets caught by this one dude, and he takes him out to like go kill like somebody because the dude wants to do it. I forgot the name of the movie, but it gives me that type of vibes.
Yeah.
Where just how dark, creepy. Like audibly in the theater, somebody said, "Oh shit!" Like when you see that, and they're just standing
and
there,
the dude just doesn't notice it. And like that brings up like 2 parallelisms that I love, because like the last couple scenes, like the beginning of or like the middle of the 3rd act, where it's the Riddler basically like confessing. And he says, "Yeah, my confession," and he confesses to Batman because he thinks they're best bros, and he's just like, "You brought him in the light. I wasn't.
We're the same team, bro."
Yeah.
He's like, "No, this is dark blue. That's regular blue, dude. What are you talking about?"
And that like but the whole movie has been building up this parallelism. That the very first shot we have of the whole movie is through binoculars of like the dude scoping out
that's right,
the guy. We have later a shot of Bruce Wayne looking through a scope at Catwoman.
Literally with the same like crosshairs and everything. Like they were the same ones.
Literally the only difference is that you could tell from the HUD that like one of them was more of a sniper scope, the other one was more of binoculars.
I saw the how can I say this on the binocular scopes or whatever. The very bottom had like the numbers and the T bracket things and the measurements. I mean, they felt, anyways, they were super similar. Yes, go on.
Yeah. But then not only like that part, not only the fact that like you're introduced to them and like they're voyeuristic, like they're always watching to see what's going to happen and then how can I react to it. But then also the fact that the first time you see the Riddler, he's in shadow. The first time you see Batman, he walks out of the shadows. And that was like the entire time I was just like, this is so interesting that they're already building them up to be like this. And then once you get to the end, they're like, oh no, they're technically working for the same team, just in very different ways, and that it's easy to like slippery slope that whole thing, and that was like such a perfect moment that like he beats up the henchmen, and then he says, "I am vengeance." He's like, "You're right. Like that's I'm an idiot for doing the same thing." And then he does the first like altruistic thing of the whole movie, which was cutting off that electrical cord and leading people out of the like swampy flood to be like, this is the first good thing I've technically done this whole movie. And it's because I've learned from like the bad example I was making. And I feel like that going back to like your parallel and then like really homing it in, I feel like the only difference between him and the Batman, the Riddler and the Batman, is the Riddler murders. The Batman doesn't try to. It's all like he let that one kid escape. The kid was like, he was already like half committed anyways, right? So he left. And which, did you realize that I couldn't unsee the fact that like the very first guy, so that kid is like, he has half of his face painted like, oh, he's in the middle of this decision. But then the guy that's just like, you need to beat up this guy, he looked like a nostalgia critic.
No!
I couldn't. I couldn't unsee that, and it ruined the first scene for me. That I was just like, you put a wig on him, and he's what was it, Melvin, brother of the Joker?
Exactly. Maybe that's the true reason why he came over here. I'm here looking for Melvin, and that's like,
oh my god, here's my Bat credit card.
My Bat credit card. Anyways,
sorry. I
thought it was funny though. I feel like the introduction of Batman. When he walks out, like it's silent, and all you hear is his footsteps, and it almost sounds like he has spurs on. Like going back into him, like I wanted to still fear on these people. So like, how can I say this? It's his first 2 years. I feel like he's still trying to implement that, which to me excuses some of the edgier like stuff that he does, like walking out of the fire. Oh, slow! You didn't have to do that, bro.
Exactly.
Walking out from the shadows, like as a badass, like you didn't have to do that, bro. Saying I am vengeance to these guys. You didn't have to do that.
Yeah,
bro.
He's really theatrical. And he's like, I love that he doesn't. Yeah, like we said before, he doesn't really have like his whole like everything together, where he doesn't just teleport places. He has to run out of like the police office, and he's like trying to get away, and like he doesn't just show up. The only time he shows up is when like Gordon shows up to the bat signal and he's there already. But like if he's in a situation, he just doesn't disappear. He had to like. I loved the fact that like one of the first shots in the movie is him walking into the crime scene, and you just see everybody looking at him, and like that alone is a cool image of like people looking at the camera, and you get this POV. But then when they flip to like you see Batman walking through a crime scene is hilarious. Like I immediately was like, this is funny, and they need to know. Like there was a lot of shots in this movie and a lot of moments that were intentionally funny to show this is ridiculous. We get it, and so we're lampshading it a bit so that the rest can breathe. And
so the whole like explaining how ridiculous it is, it homes in even more. I keep on saying homes in.
Yeah, you're good.
One of the police officers is like, "We're really you brought this dude? Are you? Come on!" Like they're not even mad. They're more embarrassed in a way because they're like, "He's a freak. Why would you? What?"
Exactly.
And like only the Commissioner Gordon's friend, I forgot his name, the big guy. He also gets murdered.
Oh, he was the previous commissioner.
The previous commissioner, and even the police chief. They both both of them act a little bit different. They're not so much embarrassed by that guy, but they're more like, dude, you need to get him out of here. He might. I don't like what he may find about me. You know, shit like that.
Yeah.
Especially the police, the chief of police, the short guy is like, get this guy out of here. You got 5 minutes.
The fact that he had like a high pitched voice was so funny.
It really homes in like you're just a little scum. You're just a little scummy dude. You're getting paid off. Fuck off, dude.
Yeah, and so that kind of brings me to the fact of like I loved how. So okay, two things about Batman's like design as well as like his atmosphere is that one, he's like he's technically like the Grim Reaper in this. That like he shows up and he's supposed to like invoke this fear in you. He comes out of the shadows, but also his mask, you can see divots that look like a human skull. Like he's meant to look like death. And like you can't see his nose half the time. He's so black. Like the outfit. But then,
eyeliner and all this other shit.
Oh my god. And the fact that you actually see him in eyeliner and it doesn't look stupid because he already looks like an emo goth kid. I love that. But also the fact that I couldn't unhear this, and you guys won't be able to unhear it if you go back and watch the trailers, is that some of you might not know what this is, but there's something called the Dies Irae. Do you know? We've talked about it, I think so, at one point or another. But there's this motif that's used since like Gregorian chants. That's called the Dies Irae, and what it is it goes like Dies Irae. That's it. It's like Dies Irae. Every movie has used that to mean death. Like the song, if you look up the song Dies Irae, it's like that. It's like Dies Irae, and then like you'll hear it in Lion King. There's like a really good video by this guy called Sideways that's about the Dies Irae and how you'll hear it everywhere. The main place I hear it is in the Imperial March from Star Wars. They go dun 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 dun. The Dies Irae is in there. This movie for Batman, his whole thing is the Dies Irae. It's like dun dun dun. Like you'll hear whenever he shows up, that's the Dies Irae. I could only hear Darth Vader coming out of like my main problem is that like when you use motifs like that, you end up not hearing its intent, but you end up like comparing it to stuff you've already heard.
Yeah,
so
I could see that.
I could only see Darth Vader coming out of the background because he's meant to also be death. He has this whole black outfit, so I'm just like, I don't know why I'm feeling this way. But now, like, I think it's just because they did the smart choice, which was like the Dies Irae means death. He's meant to be death. He basically is a skull, like
the
walking.
Death of corruption.
Whatever his whole thing is. And so, like, I love that they put that together. I was just really frustrated that every single time I heard one of the like trailers, I was like, I don't like that I just want to listen to the like Imperial March right now and go watch Star Wars. I wanted to like be in this, and I felt that every time it came on during the movie. But it was really fitting that it's just like these big, like tense, tones that
Yeah.
whenever he shows up are just these like horn noises.
Fearful,
That are,
yeah.
fearful is a good word.
Yeah, I bet he wishes that like how can I say this? You know how he has a speaker system in the Batcave,
Yeah.
and like even in I believe in the Vietnam era or Blackhawks or whatever, or fucking planes, not planes, or choppers had speakers on them.
Fortunate Son, yeah.
Fortunate Son. They just recreated scenes from their favorite movies there. No, but like they would have that shit for real to instill fear. Do you think like Batman should do that with his like Batmobile? Like can you imagine like the club is like bumping music and like the music comes down and all you hear is you're just like, oh, dude, he's here.
I thought you were going to say there's like he puts on a Batman remix.
You see him and you see him disconnect the aux and plug his in and like, press play.
Oh my god, that is a 21st century.
That would be
hero.
dope. That would be dope as
That'd be
shit. I would
pretty
love
good.
that.
That would be like I could definitely see Deadpool doing that.
Oh, yeah, of course. The what else? I want to talk more about speaking more about introductions. Catwoman in this.
Yeah.
I liked. She was fantastic.
She was really good.
The short hair. People were comparing it to like a redemption to the Halle Berry movies.
Yeah.
Or stuff like that. And I was like, I felt like she did so good on her own. Like how like she originally she just wanted to save her friend because she was getting these fucked up deals, and after she finds out that she got taken out, that's when she goes into her own like. She kind of becomes a pseudo Batman in a way. Where it's like, no, you taught me how to infiltrate this place. I'm gonna just do it myself now, and just does it, and like crazy shit happens. And then she decides to be like, no, I kind of had the taste that you have. This whole vengeance thing is it's a little crazy for me.
Yeah, and then she just kind of gets out of it. But that also brings up the fact of like her father, who was the. Falcone? Yeah, because Falcon, yeah. But I did love the fact that like this kind of whole thing, there's like this one seed of corruption that they're trying to play as like this one guy controls the whole city. But at the end of the day, like if he leaves, Penguin will like take up that kind of like whole seedy underbelly, like he'll just become the next crime lord. But also the fact that like that character and like that whole sequence, the whole thing about Catwoman and like her backstory, and I love that it feeds in the fact that this whole movie is building up to the I think the climax of the movie legitimately was when he talks to the Riddler. Like the whole thing of when he goes in and talks to the Riddler and the Riddler just says Bruce Wayne over and over again, you're like, oh, he knows, but like who cares? Like in my mind I was just like, oh, he knows that Bruce Wayne's Batman, but like is that really like a big ending that he would want to kill Batman? And so the fact that that wasn't it, and that he was just like, he got away. This one rich, privileged piece of shit got away. And like, that's not, the kid didn't do anything. Bruce Wayne didn't do anything.
Yeah, he didn't do anything.
Yeah, but he was in a place of privilege, and you find that like, every other Batman movie has tackled the fact that like, look at these crazy, zany characters just running amok in the streets. Well, this one in particular is just like, the Riddler's like, I'm literally just a smart guy. I got all these other people around me that like, that were basically the Joker at the end of Joker, where he's like everybody's fed up, but you see him actually doing this ground up like resistance movement because these people legit, when he's like describing actual squalor, is like you as Bruce Wayne can't remotely understand. This entire movie have been pretending like this whole thing's about you and your needs and oh, my parents died and all this stuff. But which is traumatic and rough, but you've not really like, you've been in a lap of luxury during all of that trauma. Here are people that not only have to deal with that, but way worse stuff and have no support. And so Catwoman, him, everybody else that goes in through the Falcone's thing, like Falcone is like, I just like, he sees people's pressure points and uses them. That's why he allegedly killed Bruce Wayne's, like, the parents. Like, he was just like, oh, Thomas Wayne came to me, I killed the guy so I could hold that over Thomas Wayne, but Thomas Wayne didn't want to be held over. He was going to go turn himself in, so I killed him instead. He's like, first of all, I would have much rather had that, like, Bruce Wayne's parents aren't super good. Like, it would have been fine if, like, his dad actually did was like actually a corrupt whatever.
Yeah, I was hoping for that, honestly.
Yeah. And the fact that they didn't do that is okay. I didn't like that they immediately solved it.
So they kind of but they weren't as bad as even the Riddler described, really.
Yeah.
Because like Batman did his more investigation and really talked to the person and whatnot and got all that figured out.
Yeah.
But I still personally feel that, how can I say this? I'm with you. I feel like they should have done more corrupt shit to more make Batman be the Batman. It's like, now I'm really gonna have to fix this because my parents were directly involved, and that's and look what they paid for.
Yeah.
And from there, bada bing, bada boom, you know.
And especially the fact that like it shows it's a systemic problem that these people are all because of the system that was created from this $1 billion endowment. That like corruption was just led to like become a big thing because they were just using that money.
Yeah, of course.
And the fact that like this is not something punch kicky guy can fix. You need to actually be like a beacon of hope if you're going to do that and actually help people. But that's not something that like you can be a symbol of hope instead of a symbol of fear. Like literally in the beginning he talks about like, I did also love that he has like this is like Rorschach's journal, day 1 I took a poop. Like I love that like he starts off really self-important, but he literally says like that's a symbol of fear. And he's like by the end he's like I need to be a symbol of hope because everybody's already living in fear because the system's horrible.
Exactly.
And I can't make it worse. Like, you know.
I especially like you said towards the ending where Riddler's plans literally work. Like what he wanted to happen does happen. Just a couple hiccups here and there.
Yeah.
And you see Falcone he gets taken down. He's like in jail now.
Yeah.
And you
see he dies. He gets shot.
That's right.
Yeah.
He literally gets blasted.
Yeah.
You
So I started blasting.
You see the Penguin look out the window. Like he's literally just staring at it. He's like, this place could be mine. He's just thinking that, and you're just imagining like what other villains are thinking that and whatnot.
Yeah.
Which
allows a lot of cool sequel stuff.
A lot of cool potential behind this one.
Which apparently the Penguin might get his own show for some reason on HBO Max. Which
you see, I don't like it when they do that.
Well, Peacemaker was pretty good, so yeah.
But then they're gonna make a sequel, and some of the stuff in the show may not correlate with the movie.
They better not. I hate that.
That's what I feel like that may happen or something. I don't know.
Which basically happened on The Mandalorian, where it's just like you need to watch Boba Fett to know what happens in The Mandalorian because 2 episodes are basically Mandalorian episodes.
That's right. Yeah, that's what I hear.
Yeah. But anyway, you were saying
the going back to the ending and how they introducing some more characters or whatnot. So the Riddler's plans they go into fruition. Boom. Happens. The city gets flooded.
Yeah.
The new almost said president. The new mayor almost gets killed.
Yeah.
Batman shows that he is no longer he's not trying to become fearful. Like when he's grabbing the people out of the the waters, like all the adults are like, nah, bruh. It's like you're insane. But the kid is like, ah! And he saves the kid, and then everyone starts like helping out and whatnot. Talking about the ending, the introduction of the Joker. They introduced the Joker in this. How did you feel about the introduction, personally?
I thought, well, and that's the thing is I don't even know if that's, it's probably the Joker, but like the fact that it's this just guy in a prison cell, it was underwhelming for the fact that I'm just like, okay, I don't really know why he's there, what's going on with that, and the fact that we've already done all this stuff with the Riddler is like kind of takes away from that. There's like, oh, we're starting kind of our League of Evil, but at the same time, I don't know what to do with that. I'm not really jonesing for another Joker movie, so that was when I heard that I was just like, okay, I would be fine if he's just somewhere in the next movie, but like I really don't want another. Here's the Joker. Wow, he's a mental health problem guy. Like, cool.
I feel like, I don't know. I'm with you where like it felt underwhelming because I felt like the introduction just was kind of, how can I say? I feel like it could have done better with the introduction. So the Riddler's in jail, or not in jail. He's in Arkham somewhere, I think. And like he's talking about how like Malaysia's over or whatever, like because Batman literally says like he literally scolds him.
That was so good.
He goes like, I'm nothing like you. People, you're an asshole. You're a murderer. People are gonna.
You're insane.
You're insane. People are gonna forget you. And like he's like, no, no. Like
such a good scene, like such good acting on both of their parts, of like both having this big, like both of their worlds come crumbling down in different polar opposite ways.
It's how can I say this? It's all their hard work finally meeting
Yeah.
and whatnot. But like he's after that breakdown, he's like, no, and he's literally contemplating, so I'm gonna just keep on going then.
Yeah.
I'm gonna just keep going, and he's talking about like how he's locked up or whatever.
Yeah.
Would it have been cooler, right? If he's like, you know, he starts having his own breakdown, and like a little note gets slipped in.
Ooh, okay.
And on the note, it has like a shitty little Riddler like thing on it.
Like a little riddle.
And he's like, oh, huh?
Yeah.
He opens it up, and it's not his handwriting.
Yeah.
And it says the same riddle that the Riddler asked him in voice, right?
Yeah.
And he reads it, it's like, and like the Riddler doesn't get it.
Yeah.
He's like, what? Because it's poorly done. It's not cryptic like he would, right?
Yeah.
And all you hear is a friend, you know, is the Joker out there, and he looks over. I mean, you just hear the laughter. You know, the shot moves away. You just hear them both laughing. It's like, oh, it could be him, could be not. Like, who could it be? I really don't like the showing of the face. Because I was like,
who? Well, not only they had like a mohawk or something. Like I couldn't even make out anything.
It was weird.
Because I thought it was like Joaquin Phoenix for a moment. I was like, what? Who cares? Like, what are you doing? Like,
I was on a double date, and the person
could have been Scarecrow, maybe.
That's the thing. Like, the face looked mutilated a little bit. It looked kind of scarred. And the person that
Deadpool.
The person I was talking to, they said it's like, they reminded me of the redheaded Joker from that one TV show.
Oh yeah, from Gotham.
Yeah, the Gotham show, like how his face was all like weird and whatnot. It's like I was hoping it wasn't him, and I was like, I don't know who it was. But I think
this could be the Gotham universe. Who knows?
You think so?
I hope not. I don't care. Like, I don't want to have to watch that whole show. Yeah, they could. I mean, like, yeah, that makes a lot of sense. That scene, I think it was fine. That's the whole thing. I think it was fine. I think it did what it wanted it to. But if it wasn't in the whole movie, I would have been fine. Like, if it was just, he goes, the last shot you get of him, the last importance you have of him is that he is going to die alone and, like, forgotten, you know, by the Batman. And, oh, God, I love that scene so much.
Would have been cool, like, not would have been, but, like, maybe in a sequel.
Yeah.
Like, without that ending, the sequel happens, and, like, obviously, he's going after the not the Joker, the Penguin.
Yeah, yeah.
Right? And towards the middle, like, the Penguin goes, like, that's why I got some help. And you hear him, he's like, you just see him like crazed, like it's like, I'm here to prove you wrong. Like he's tweaking out. Like that would have been like, oh shit, he's back.
Maybe
or something like that.
That, or maybe he becomes Bane or something. Like he like injects himself with something.
Do you see that green fluid that he was that his go-go juice?
It probably was. I thought it was just adrenaline, but it could have been that.
It was like green, wasn't it?
Yeah, no, 100%.
Like it was like. I'm imagining glowing a dark green for some reason.
Exactly.
But like, no, he injected it. He went berserk, man.
Yeah.
Even like
he exactly.
turned around ready to box some motherfuckers.
And especially so, just the fact that so the fact that they emulated Seven, a lot of it. Yeah. And it makes a lot of sense because of the Riddler, but also the fact that like the more you think about it, and the more you think that like the Riddler's character in the whole of Batman has always been like the Joker, chaos, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
The Riddler is actually a really smart guy. And his one fatal flaw is that he leaves clues intentionally. Yeah. So how do you justify that?
He wants others to know how smart he is.
Yeah, exactly. And so how do you justify that in this kind of movie? And it's not that he's leaving clues. He's legit asking, he's like, do you want to play with me? Do you want to be my, like, do you want to join me in this conquest? Yes. Yeah. Then cool, now we're working together. There's some plot holes that come across from like some parts of it, which is fine. But the reveal is so good because you have this moment of just like, why would he leave all these clues? Why would he do all this stuff? Why would anybody do this stuff if not to think that the other person was on their team? Yeah. Like, you know? And so it's just like, so it's such a good subversion of the idea of the Riddler that the whole Riddler's whole thing has been like, well, I'm a criminal, but you know, I kind of am playing a little game with Batman, and that's just like my weird quirk. This one's like, no, legitimately, I like, this is how we're going to communicate, you and I, because we live in a world where I can't actually communicate with you besides like that weird terminal he set up on the Rada Alada website, and which, oh my God, Cameron had a moment where he's like, they actually are going to put URL like there, and then when he does it, he's like, he turned to me, he's like, we kept saying stuff that we're like, if this is true, this movie's hilarious, and then they have it, and I was like, I'm so about this movie, and like the fun stuff like was there, or
like one of the complaints that I heard was like, if Batman is such a good detective, how did he not find that forum?
Yeah.
Like stuff like that. And I'm like,
yeah.
for me, my excuse or our kind of argument is like look what other bullshit he's doing.
Yeah.
Like literally going building the building, actually doing investigative work and shit like that. And going back to the whole thing here, can we talk about how, because he was so young, because he's like new Batman, how fucked up he gets?
Like beaten up.
He gets lit up, dude. Like lit up.
I was frankly surprised how lit up he gets, and then okay, so when he like does the squirrel suit like fly, and then like bounces off the ground.
Seriously, yeah.
I thought he was gonna like have an actual limp for the rest of the movie.
Yeah.
And the fact that he doesn't is like okay, but like legitimately, I was just like, oh my god, he gets like beaten to hell, and then besides the Bane juice, he's just like.
He was legit. Like I bet he was hoping to go at that moment. Like he was just like, dude, I want to end it right here. Just please let me go. But like. Going back to the Christopher Nolan movies, in those Batman, he just goes ding ding ding, and he just moves in closer and just boxing them. In this one, I think there was a shot where he gets shot with a shotgun, and he literally goes
he flies across the room.
He takes his time to get up, and the guy's like, oh, all right,
yeah, exactly.
It's to me, it's cool to see that. I'm too used to seeing a perfect Batman being perfect all the time. You know?
Yeah, exactly.
Batman being smooth with the ladies, Batman being,
Yeah, which I love that. I love the fact that not only he's got the rough edges, but he doesn't know how to like balance the two. He doesn't know how to be Bruce Wayne anymore.
Exactly.
Which he never really did in this universe. Like so far, he's just always been for the 20 years. He's just been kind of a shithead. Yeah. And like I love the fact that he gets like lit up a bunch and he's just like really doesn't know what to do. And the fact that like when he gets like knocked on his back he gets up, does the juice, and then just beats the dude into the ground. And did you know this movie was rated PG-13?
Yeah.
I didn't know that. And so I thought the dude's face was going to be like in Fight Club when he like punches the dude's face out. Jared Leto, and he punches it like he's just bleeding. I thought that was going to be like the dude's, because he really gets into him.
I feel like this movie should have been like, I would say R, but not for like any sexualization or anything like that.
If they got away with this in PG-13, like the stuff that would have been R, I don't think would have been worth it. I mean, if they got away with it here,
I think with they would cut to R like one of the.
You said the F word.
I mean, how can I say? It feels like people are giving ratings based on language and ideals,
really
and not
is.
so much like what's really happening on screen.
Well, this was like way more horrific than any other like PG-13 movie I can think of.
That weapon he uses, the Riddler, that thing is scary.
Yeah.
That thing looks like
a rug, whatever.
It's just a rug tool, but it's all shiny.
Yeah.
It reminded me of the axe from Mandy, where like it's super shiny and like. But it's iconic looking.
Yeah,
come on.
exactly.
And like how it's out of focus, sure.
Yeah.
But like he's just relentlessly going at this dude, and like just like the Batman doing the same fucking thing.
There's so much disgusting stuff that happens off of screen, and it makes it more visceral because you're just like, oh my god, like in your head. Yeah.
When Commissioner Gordon says like, look what they did, and like they're grabbing a picture of like whoever it was, and the rats ate his face. There's not a close up.
It's like a split screen, like
but
they
they
barely
show it to the camera. It's like right there, and even the Penguin is like, come on, man, come on. Like even he's like, what the fuck?
And like, so Matt Reeves apparently is the director of this, and he directed Cloverfield, and he directed one of the or I think he wrote for one of the what's that called? The what was it? The Planet of the Apes movies. And he directed one of them too. So, but he like a lot of like looking through his filmography, it's a lot of. You don't see the like gross stuff, but it still hurts. Like it's and I feel like that's just how they got away with it. Is really just like implying this gross thing so that you're really feeling like. My parents went to go see the Dark Knight like in theaters, the one with the Joker, and like they were visibly disturbed by like the Heath Ledger's Joker and all that stuff, and I'm like, and I told my mom, I'm like, you're not seeing this new one. You'll be very upset because it's like it's surprising how really grossed out and disgusting a lot of moments are. That like they feel like Seven, they just don't show you the result.
Yeah,
like it's like Seven just without that part.
It's unlike the Joker, not the Joker movie, but unlike the one with the Joker in it.
Yeah, Dark Knight.
It's not just one person. This is multiple people being awful human beings.
Oh, yeah.
Like police officers, the Penguin, the Riddler himself, sometimes even Batman. Like these are multiple just awful human beings. And the only 2, sometimes 3 good people we can trust is Batman, Gordon, and Catwoman, and she's not even in this anymore.
Exactly.
So it's like, yeesh. Like it's a lot of like dehumanization from these people. Like the Penguin's like his real club under the club. What's going on over there?
And they're doing like drops or whatever they called it.
Whatever it is.
I swear I think actually the more I think about it, I think that's like a setup for Scarecrow.
I'm willing to bet,
Because there's a drug. Okay, well now the Scarecrow can do drug stuff. But I mean, like legitimately, there was just like all of these really see stuff. They like hint at prostitution, which is just like wow, like a lot. That's like the initiation of the whole thing. And so, man, there's just like so much in there that you're like, this is a superhero movie that like if I was 13, I'd be like, oh my god.
I feel like my brain wouldn't want to process it. Even like to me, a scary moment, or not a scary moment, but like a moment of like some horror was the politician guy talking to Catwoman and saying like, dude, I'm fucked. Like I'm fucking next. I'm gonna die. Like he's literally like opening up to this woman, and Batman is just
don't look away.
Don't look away. Stare right at him. I want to see more. And it's like he's like spilling out to her, and it's like, dude, he's
that whole character is just like he's the DA, and he's like getting all this other stuff, and then like he shows up with like the phone on his hand and like right hand to God. I'm like, this is so like not only symbolically great, but like that guy's just so desperate, and he's trying to solve these riddles. It's like he didn't give you enough time.
I did it for 10,000. I did it for 10,000, dude. Like it's like that's your price, and like that's literally like his price.
And he's ready to immediately spill the beans because he's like, I'll die. And then when he's just like, well, who made you do it? He's like, I can't say that, or else not only I would die, all my family would die. So I'll die here. That's fine. Like it's like that just shows you how deep it runs. Like
moments of true dread, like seriously, just it's dreadful.
For a 3-hour movie, I was very surprised how well it paced out all of these moments, as well as the like severity of like you keep building up to like, oh, this is big and scary.
How can I say this? I was fearful of the 3 hours when I was first walking in there. I was like, because first of all, I didn't know it was gonna be 3 hours. I was just genuinely surprised.
I said we were gonna be held hostage.
Because I'll admit it's kind of scary. It's like, oh, this movie is 3 hours, and this is the first one out of the 50 other Batmans. Like, there's a new first one. But then you realize, oh shit! It literally starts off very well. They don't show you a 30-minute scene of his parents dying. Thank you. Thank you. They don't need that.
I don't even think they even show like screenshots.
They don't. The person I saw it with, they don't show the pearls hitting the ground. They don't show that. They don't do that. I'm like, yes, thank you. We know this so much, and it goes into where was I going with this?
Like the length of it, or
like the whole length. They talk more about just this is the true world. Look how gross it is. Gross it is, and Batman being like. He's talking about it like, oh, I want to make it better, but I think I made it worse. I think after talking to the Riddler, he's like, I think I made it worse.
And by showing like each of the different, because by the end of it, you like we've been saying,
a lot of new things were introduced, a lot of cool things in a manner that just it didn't feel like 3 hours. That was my point of all this. Sorry.
No, exactly. That like a lot of those other movies, I feel like you're also just kind of you're following a pretty simple story. This one, you can really like, there's a lot of meat on the bone, and you're like waiting for like, well, how does this fit in here? How does that fit in there? I mean, they do like talk about Rada Alada for like a long time about well, what does that clue mean? But like besides that part, like there's a lot of like, well, what is even like, what are these conclusions we're going to get to? As well as they actually do sprinkle in a lot of characters to the point where you're like, well, this is actually a city with like this web of like network of people that interact with each other. And a lot of the other movies, you have Commissioner Gordon, the two villains usually, Batman, Alfred, somebody else. Like that's Catwoman, whatever. That's like 6-7 people. This one, I could probably not even list off all the characters that are named, and that you need to like keep track of like where they fit in the plot, and that makes it a bit more of like okay, well, we're trying to like find what's going on, and it's really interesting and like builds out this world that you're like, you feel like you could actually I don't know, like not live in it, but you could like experience a couple of other stories just through this Gotham.
And I feel like that's thanks to
it's not just Detroit again.
And that's and I feel like that's thanks to the more I felt like this movie was more focused on the city itself and like Literally,
lot of shots of
the
it,
Riddler says, bro, like, this is how our city was built. It was built on shit.
Yeah,
it was
on
built
lies
on lies.
and-
And like I said, like, it talks more about the city. Even like the butler, what was his name?
Alfred.
Alfred. He wasn't like a huge main thing in this.
Yeah, no.
And Alfred is a huge part of Batman himself and in all the movies that we've seen so far.
Yeah.
Like, dude, Alfred gets he gets Oscars in the other movies, right? Like he actually has a point in these, and like in this one, he just gets blown up.
Yeah, exactly.
He tells Batman to do something, and Batman says he's not his dad, and he's like, I wish I was, because I'd spank you, because that's the look he gives him, right?
Exactly.
And like it felt. It was more focused on the city and like these people trying to fix it, and then realizing maybe we should do something else. One of them leaves, and the other one starts rethinking how they're doing their shit.
Yeah. Well, I mean, were you finished? Or?
Yeah, I was done.
Because especially it does like that alone like digs deeper into like that whole theme of like things are worse than you think. Like, okay, well, cool. I'll just beat up these goons and everything will be fine. It's like, no, it digs deep enough to that there's $1 billion enterprise of like corruption under everything, and Falcone is behind like doing these things. But even if he leaves, there's going to be a vacuum. People are still going to do what they've been doing, and there are good people. Like the good cops try to take Falcone out of the whatever club. I think it was 44 Below they called it. And so like there is goodness here, but there's so much bad that it's going to be hard to like really get under it. And so Riddler's just like, just destroy it all. Let's just drown it, which is frankly similar. It like even calls back to 7, because 7 was all this biblical stuff, like the 7 deadly sins, all this other stuff. But the fact that like they try to drown it like the flood or like Sodom and Gomorrah.
A big reset.
Exactly. Like God has smited this place for being so terrible. But even then, the people are good. Like they're trying to like dig out of it. The new mayor seems like they're like actually have
shit,
like actually has like goodness in their in what they're trying to do. And so it was interesting that like Alfred too is like a symbol of like, hey, the past isn't black and white. I can't just tell you your dad was like a good or a bad guy, because like he made a mistake. But also I can't, like, I love the fact that he even says, which is like big for me because I've been doing a bit of like self, like, you ever do that stuff where you're just like thinking of like, man, you know, this thing that happened way back when was actually because of blah, blah, blah. You actually think about like something that you thought was very simple is actually a bit more complicated. And literally Alfred does that. It was just like, I've tried to be that dad for you, but I can't, because I'm not only your dad, but you didn't want that. So like now is the time we can do that. He puts his hand out, he takes his hand, and it's just like, okay, things aren't always like, you can't fix it just because you want to. You need to actually see what's the underlying issue and then just be in the right place at the right time to try to help. And that's what ends up happening with Alfred. I was like, that's a pretty good moment. Like, this is actually an empathizable moment for people that have a bit more self-awareness. I know a 13-year-old kid isn't going to be like, why didn't he just blah, 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 blah.
And this goes especially with like what happens like before that hospital scene, right? He literally gets blown up because of the person he's trying to help, right? He gets a Batman letter. Or no, it was a Batman letter.
To the Batman.
To the Batman, but like it was meant, that bomb was meant for Wayne.
Yes, yeah.
But because Alfred
it was in flame-proof.
Yes, because Alfred is Alfred, he's gonna, you know, he's checking his shit. He's literally, Alfred is keeping the Wayne's like company thing like running so far in the background here, and.
Yeah, he was the one like asking the secretary to do stuff. Yeah,
he could have, like, I felt like maybe like if I was Alfred, I would be like, dude, I opened the wrong piece of letter with your name on it, and I got my ass bullied, and this is how you're treating me. I'm out.
Yeah.
Like he could have just done that. Could have just said
patient,
it. Could have just done it, especially with the way he was being treated, and how God knows how long he's been treated this way, right? It's like, can you
20 years,
20 plus years, like. Bruce, you have a meeting in about 20. Can you turn down the music?
Yeah. Just put a shirt on and come upstairs.
Put a shirt on. Yeah. You're not my dad! You know, like, like he could have just done that.
And like that scene too, I think was also really good. Like it just, all these feed into the themes that I love in this movie. And like the fact that like he calls and he's trying to get a hold of the secretary. He's like, you need to talk to Alfred. And she's like, I've been trying to reach you. That happened an hour ago. That he's just like so absent from his own life that he's like, we've been trying to get to you about something very important and you haven't picked up the phone for an hour. And like, and also the fact that like not only he's absent from his life, but that the Riddler is an hour ahead of him. Like, I love that. I love the fact that like the entire movie you're like trying to be on like Bruce Wayne Batman's side of just like, oh, we're going to tackle this together. We're going to solve this case. But the Riddler's he's not leaving clues for you to like solve. He's leaving stuff behind for Batman to help him. It's not about like, oh, I'm trying to help you solve the case. It's just like, no, here's stuff that you can help me so we can do this thing, because I'll be fine on my own. But you're Batman, you're pretty cool, and I want us to be friends. Vengeance and all that stuff. So like, that's
Batman followed me in my own form. Can you imagine that? Like, whoa!
Oh my God, that'd be so good. Yeah, like he's on Twitter followed by, he's like, like, oh man. But yeah, so I mean, I'm just I like this movie a lot.
I liked it quite a bit. I want to talk about the car scene though.
Oh yeah, the car chase.
The interaction, the introduction of the Batmobile, and like, because like we received almost a year ago received spoiler of like what this car is gonna look like.
This, muscle car looking.
And we were just like, oh, dude, yes. It looks like a doom buggy, like for car rallies and whatnot, where they crash into each other and whatnot. But with a giant jet engine, and that's really what it needs to be, really. And they introduced this thing in like the coolest fucking way, where Batman, he just shows up, is like, what are you gonna do with that money? He doesn't talk like that anymore, but I'm just making fun of it.
Sure.
He's like, what are you gonna do with that?
Which apparently Robert Pattinson's like, I can't do that voice. I don't know how they did it.
Sucks.
I can't.
It probably hurts to do that.
Yeah, his interviews have been really fun.
Yeah. No, he clearly he took the character and did it his own way, and hopefully he will get more roles with it. But no, when they first introduction of the Batmobile, he gets lit up yet again. He gets like sprayed with like bullets, and like all you see is just like. Just the lights turn on and he just goes after it. And this is for one of the very first times, especially in a comic book movie, where, how can I say this? The traffic scene, the driving scene, there was legit traffic.
Yeah.
Where to me,
it's not just an empty highway.
It felt scarier to me because like imagine like we've all had that moment where like we're in the highway, we're going to work or something, and suddenly some maniac
just like speeds by.
And you're like, oh, what? You're crazy. Like you didn't even get touched. You just witnessed people doing crazy shit, and that's horrifying. In this one, like you see him like. A semi gets like
and there's like a geography to it. You can like see where he's going and trying to get around, and the penguin's just like whatever, and they just like lights him up.
There's even a moment where like traffic gets in the way, and the penguin's like, "Can you?" Whoa!
I forgot he just like screams.
He's literally stopped there because there's two semis and like a car in front of him, and he's like. Like he's legit freaking out. He's looking behind him. The bat is getting closer. It's a legit like tense scene, and it's all because of fucking traffic. Thank you for bringing traffic into this.
That's how realistic it is, you know.
It's I don't know. I just really like that. The fact that like the explosion happens and like. The penguin thinks he got away with. It's like I fucking did it. Like he's
I got you.
He's like super. He literally says like I got you. It was me who got you. And like he walks out of the fire. He's like he's trying to be scary and cool. And like
which I think
it was so nice.
That moment alone, like him walking out and like walking towards the penguin, I think was like the perfect moment of just like you are so self-important and such a just there. 10 people are dead behind you. And you're using this as an intimidation moment, you piece of shit. Like, I love the fact that, like in hindsight, you're just like, fuck this Batman. And he knows it. He knows that this isn't over. Like, at the end of the movie, he's like, I have been a cringy asshole. And that's what I mean. Like, to go full circle at the beginning, talking about Shadow the Hedgehog, is that, like, the end of this movie is you looking back at your, like, middle school photos. Is like you being like, I can't believe I wore chain pants. Like, oh my God. Right? And it's just like, and I look back at those, I'm like, hell yeah, kid, you go. But like, when you have that moment where he's like actually being like, I've set myself up to be this ridiculous symbol, and now I realize that I valued literally nothing important. Everything that I thought was important is not only stupid, but also has been leading to actual like terrible disaster in the city.
Like not even to the city, but like to himself. Like Alfred gets hurt for this. Catwoman, like she
takes a lot.
She takes a lot of beatings and whatnot, and like, I think there's a when she's out to get Falcone, and he's like running towards her. It's like, no, you're gonna get murdered, and he's like, genuinely cares about this person. And going back to what you were saying, like at the very end, even talking to the Riddler, it's like, shit, me putting on tights and fighting motherfuckers did this to this person, and me? Like shit like that. It's like, bro, you don't matter. What you're doing and what's happening to everyone else. You see, you wanted to be the main character, Batman. This is what being the main character does. You get villains, motherfucker. This is what happens. And I feel like you said, him realizing that he's gonna slow down. He's gonna rescue some more kids, hopefully.
Yeah.
In the sequel,
and that I really hope that, like, I frankly do hope there's a sequel and that they, like,
same.
because, man, I am like, when the Twilight movies came out, I had always been like, I had already been like, oh, this is kind of annoying, but like, whatever, people can enjoy whatever they like. And then I started seeing like interviews with Robert Pattinson, and not only did he like poo-poo the whole thing, he's like, this is really dumb, and I'm just making a paycheck, but also he seemed like he was just having fun with it because he knew that whatever. And then I've seen other interviews with him that he, like, throughout his entire acting career has like tried to take it that seriously of like, I want to be a good actor, but I'm like, he's like apparently really nervous, like a nervous dude. And so like all of the Twilight movies, he was super nervous. There's a really good, like, I think it was a Vanity Fair interview that like he talks about this stuff in all of his roles, and that like as he goes, you just hear him light up about how he found the love for acting in these other smaller movies, in like Good Times, in Lighthouse, and other stuff, and working with other people. And then so now you see him like in this kind of role, and you're just like, I'm happy for you, dude. You're like there. You're making, presumably, and apparently he, in an interview, they said like, I think his agent asked him, like, they're just like, oh, they want you for the Batman movie, but you don't want that. And he's like, yeah, I do. He's like, what? You said you only want to play freaks. He's like, Batman's the biggest freak ever. And he's like, there's this great interview of him just going off about like, this dude does this and this and this and this. He is such an interesting freak. I need to play
Batman
this.
is one of the, how can I say this? One of the people with a lot of mental issues that is shined with a nice light.
Yeah.
We're like, oh, he has PTSD. He has so much going on that we probably don't even know about.
Yeah.
And like, because just the way he is. But he's shined with a positive light because he's trying to do good and whatnot.
Yeah.
Which is nice.
Yeah.
But he's still a freak nonetheless. I mean, come on.
And this brings up that like good intentions don't get good things all the time.
Yeah,
like your
absolutely
intention to make the world good by beating up villains has done nothing but bad stuff. And like you can tell that they spent the time to think like, okay, well, what if Batman actually felt like this? And like you can tell that they like went through, they took all the meat off the bone to be like, let's think as deeply as we can about this character, about this stuff, and what would actually happen. And that's why, like, that's where the clever stuff comes out of. Yeah.
You mean to tell me you blocked I-4, you blew up a semi, you got the guy, you know he done other bad shit, and you let him go.
Yeah.
You mean what?
And then he's like waddling away like
he's like, hey, and like, come on. And like,
but at the same time, I love that he like the biggest body count of like actual probably dead people is from that explosion, and he didn't even, that was the wrong lead. He didn't even, because he couldn't read the words, like the letters URL, he got the wrong thing. And then I love he types that in, goes on his computer while they're still there, and then says like, so like Rada Lada, you mean like the penguin, right? He's a flightless bird, and then just writes interesting, like an upset teacher that's like trying to help you get to the answer. And so it's like, that's one of those perfect moments where you're just like, this dude is not actually like trying to help you solve the thing. He's just like, come join up with me. Let's get to the point where you bring him into the light, bring out this Falcon, whatever, so we can kill him together because we both know that he's bad. So I really just love the whole thing about how much of a dick Batman is for thinking that he's so important, and then at the very end being told like, this isn't about Bruce Wayne or whatever. This has nothing to do with that. This has to do with the actual, I don't care, like, especially when he's just like, oh, he has my secret identity, and then he's like, I like wouldn't, like, legitimately that guy would not give two shits of what the, like, he would be like, his mind would have been blown if he found out that Batman was Bruce Wayne because he hates Bruce Wayne. But like, that has nothing to do with his plan. So the fact that like Bruce Wayne is thinking in his head, he's like, he has the most important thing in the world, my secret identity, and then gets shown as like, that literally means nothing. This is never about, I mean, you can be all the main characters you want, Batman, but I guess there's all the side plots, I guess, as well. But no, there's still because of him. Like, no, dude. But yeah, so that's.
If you were to give it a number, if you were to give it a juicy number, even, what would you give it?
That's tough, actually, because I give most superhero movies like a 6, because it's like, okay, 5 is like a very average movie, 6 is like I had a good time, or at least I didn't hate it. 7 would be like I actually would watch again, and then 8 is like I would watch this just to like have a good experience. So like I don't know. I'm like
I would watch it again.
yeah, definitely.
I would definitely watch it again. That's. I feel like that would be my rating. I would watch it again with a group of people.
Yeah,
I could see this. I could see this movie being at the background at clubs.
Yeah,
Because a lot of
it's
the
very
scenery
moody.
is
Yeah.
very cool, and like just imagine viewing it with like beat music or something.
Yeah, I definitely, and I was like, my brother and I were memeing in the middle of it. I'm like, I would rewatch this to meme more.
Yeah.
Because there's a lot of like self-important whatever. But yeah, I'd give it like a 7.
There's also a lot of just straight up funny scenes where like out of context, Batman just says, "No, you go." It goes into his computer and starts like
so good.
telling her how to do shit. It's
Yeah.
like, no, you do this.
Yeah,
And, like,
exactly.
and it continues going. It's
Yeah.
like, bro, get off the computer. You do it, motherfucker.
The moment that I was like, I love this version of Batman and Catwoman is when he's like, she puts like, I think she put like the contact lens that's like
Yeah.
a camera thing like up, and that says, "Are you there?" And he's just like, hey, like he's joining a Discord chat, and he's like, "Hey, what's up?" And she's just like, "I think we left off on a bad
Hey,
turn."
girl, what you doing?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, you up? Yeah, I love that. So yeah, I mean, like there are parts of this that I think would be really fun to rewatch and just kind of. It was. I had a good time.
What do you think
There
of
were
his
some
costume?
big annoying plot holes, but they're fine. It's no big
I
deal.
didn't even think about the plot.
Yeah, exactly.
What do you think of his costume, though? I liked it. It
That
looked
was
like a riot costume. It was alright.
Definitely did. I thought that it was good for that point. Like the whole thing about like him looking like death. The more I looked at it, the more I'm just like, it was cartoon-esque, where it had these big bulges, but
Yeah.
yeah, that the big bulges were like armor. They weren't
Yeah.
just straight up like ab. You know?
True. But no.
Yeah, pretty good. So yeah, I definitely think that. Let me switch to this. If there's any bad switching, I'm sorry. I've been trying to do this the whole time. But yeah, I frankly think if you haven't seen it, this is like 3 weeks after the movie came out. So like if you haven't seen it, I think you'd like it. People at home. And I can't believe it's PG-13. Legitimately still don't.
Yeah.
When I came out of the movie, I was like, no one cussed the whole time.
No, I'm telling you, people don't care. People
Yeah.
don't care. They care about just cussing and other ideals.
It's legit just cussing sexual content. That's it.
Yeah.
Yeah, and like.
But when Batman goes onto your on your face because he had green juice, he had a little bit of green monster in his thigh.
I thought you were gonna break the table. Legit, you guys should have felt this table just now. It's like, oh my god, oh my god. But yeah, I'd let Batman just beat the crap.
Beat the crap out of your green
exactly.
face.
Just my green face. I'd be like, thank you.
Who are you?
I am
Removes it.
vengeance. Yeah, exactly.
Who the fuck is this? And then he puts it back on and just starts talking back to the AR.
God, love it. Oh, I love it. Oh, it's great. So yeah, cool. Thanks. Goodbye. Thanks for being here, everybody.
No, of course.
We recorded for an hour and 15 minutes.
Wow!
Yeah, dude.
That's good.
Yeah, dude. Whoa!